Did you know that car manufacturers have been lying to consumers for decades? One of these lies in particular can cause damage of up to $5,000. That's why I'm sharing 21 car secrets only the most experienced drivers know. These tips will slash your annual maintenance costs and protect you from expensive repairs and deadly collisions. And yes, some of these expose how gullible drivers are. At the end, I'll share one mistake young drivers make that can ruin a car in seconds. Secret number 21. The truth behind the dreaded check engine light. Roughly 49% of cars on the road have at least one dashboard warning light on. Why? Because drivers are too afraid of what they might find if they look too deeply. However, this is a costly mistake. An estimated 80% of check engine lights are for something that won't cost any money to fix. The most innocent of these is a loose gas cap. Screw this back on and your problems disappear. But if you ignore it, dirt and grime can enter the tank, which can ruin the fuel pump and injectors. You could end up spending over $2,000 because of your ignorance. If you don't have one already, buy an OBD2 scanner. That $40 investment pays for itself and prevents you from being scammed by mechanics. However, it's important to know that the check engine light doesn't tell you everything, including the next secret. Secret number 20. The overlooked power steering reservoir. According to a survey by the RAC, 81% of drivers rarely perform fluid checks. Sure, they might check oil and coolant levels occasionally, but never the power steering fluid. One reason for this is the scam known as lifetime fluids, but we'll address that later. Another reason is that people often forget it's there until a problem arises. If your steering has gotten harder, or you're hearing groaning or whining sounds when you turn, your power steering fluid might be low or degraded. Once the power steering fluid changes color or smells burnt, you need to flush it out and locate the source of contamination, if any. Power steering fluid only costs $5. However, if you ignore it and your car ends up wrapped around a pole, your warranty won't cover the damage. Later on, we'll reveal some more car fluid secrets that can also cost you thousands in repairs. But next up is another accident magnet you need to avoid. Secret number 19. The real reason for tire rotations. Contrary to what many people believe, tire rotations are not a scam concocted by quick lube shops. In fact, it is one of the most underappreciated regular maintenance requirements. Most cars recommend a tire rotation every 5,000 miles. This is usually done at the same time as an oil change. The most basic benefit is to prevent uneven tire wear. Front tires wear out faster because of the heavier engine. Therefore, a rotation will save at least $400 by preventing premature replacement of the front tires. However, the primary purpose of rotations is to detect early signs of alignment issues, suspension problems, or even failing wheel bearings. Each of these costs at least $2,000 to repair, but a $100 tire rotation helps you get ahead of it. I've got an even bigger tire secret coming up. But first, here's something that comes in handy during an emergency. Secret number 18. Starting the car with a dead remote. If you ever find yourself in this situation, don't be in a hurry to call a tow truck. Modern car remotes hold many secrets, which we've discussed in various videos, including this one. How to program a key fob at home. But the one that comes in handy in this situation is the passive RFID. Your key fob features both active and passive RFID technology. The active one is what you use to unlock the car and trunk, and it needs a battery. The passive one is what starts your car. Fortunately, the passive RFID works without a battery. Simply hold the key within an inch of the ignition button and start your car as usual. While this secret only comes in once every few years, the next one is a permanent fixture on many cars. Secret number 17. The truth about the tire pressure monitoring system. The Tire Pressure Monitoring System, or TPMS, was introduced in 2007 after several crashes linked to underinflated tires. While this feature has helped reduce the number, there are still over 11,000 tire-related crashes each year. One reason tire-related accidents remain high is that many people misunderstand how this feature works. Contrary to what you might think, the TPMS doesn't tell you when you need to inflate your tires. Instead, it tells you when your tires are dangerously low. Most TPMS systems only kick in when a tire is at least 25% underinflated. At this point, you are 3 times more likely to be involved in a car crash. That is why you need to check your tire pressure every month. You'll find the correct PSI number on the driver's side door jamb. Remember that tires lose about 1 PSI every month, so keep a portable inflator handy. Besides sacrificing your life, maintaining the right pressure also saves fuel and protects your suspension system. If you like the idea of saving thousands of dollars, you're going to love the next secret. Maybe secret number 16, the hidden value of a pre-purchase inspection. According to an AutoTrader survey, 69% of car buyers experience buyer's remorse. Unsurprising, a pre-purchase inspection could have prevented 3 of the top 4 reasons. The main reason for remorse is buying a car with mechanical issues. Unless you're an expert, you likely won't notice hidden frame damage, hidden rust, or engine problems. You also might miss electrical gremlins unless you're really thorough in your inspection. Buying a car without a PPI costs between $1,000 to $3,000 in repairs in the first year. The second reason for buyer's remorse is feeling ripped off. A mechanic with good knowledge of car prices will advise you and can help you save 5 to 10% on average. Buying a car on impulse is the third thing that upsets buyers days or weeks after the purchase. A PPI probably won't change this, but it will ensure your car has all the features you want, which is the fourth reason. If you're considering several cars and can't afford a PPI for all of them, this video will help. Now, it's time to debunk a myth that will make many manufacturers mad. Secret number 15. The true lifespan of lifetime fluids. If you ever thought that car manufacturers could be trusted, think again. At least not when it comes to so-called lifetime fluids. Lifetime fluids were developed as a marketing ploy to make the cost of owning a car seem cheaper. It's the same reason why manufacturers keep pushing back oil change intervals, but we'll deal with that later. Lifetime fluids were introduced by Ford in the 60s, but even then, the user manual stated that you might need to top up or change the fluid after 50,000 miles. Now, some manuals for modern cars skip this advice altogether or set unrealistic mileage recommendations. For example, BMW claims that their 6 HP and 8 HP ATF is a lifetime fill, which for them is 100,000 miles. However, the manufacturer of these fluids recommends you change the fluid every 50,000 miles. Ignoring transmission fluid changes can lead to premature failure, which costs thousands to repair. In the case of BMW, you could spend over $12,000 on a new transmission. That's the price of being gullible. When it comes to maintenance schedules, always go by what expert mechanics recommend. Of course, there are some things that both carmakers and technicians agree on, such as the next secret. Secret number 14. Always keep a bottle of AT205 Reseal. In my many years of working on cars, there have only been a few engine additives that blew my mind. This is one of them. Or should I say, 2 of them? Let me explain. ATP AT205 Reseal is a stop leak designed for leaking rubber seals and gaskets. You simply pour it into the crankcase, transmission, power steering, or differential, wherever the leak is. It restores the natural rigidity of the rubber components, which is what stops or drastically reduces the leak. This product literally saves you thousands of dollars and costs just $20. A BMW driver with the famed oil filter housing leak and rear main seal saved $4,000 by using this. The other use of AT205 Reseal is to protect your suspension system. Spray the rubber components of your suspension once a year or every 6 months to keep them supple. This reduces the chances of premature wear, which will also save you a boatload. That's 2 amazing uses from just one product. Later in the video, I'll reveal a common mistake that causes some engines to leak more than others. And trust me, it's something every driver is guilty of. But up next is another ignored part of regular maintenance with eye-watering consequences. Secret number 13. The downside of cabin air filter neglect. Did you know that with just $20, you can prevent a $2,000 repair? Well, $2,750 if we're being specific. That's the average cost of a carbon air filter, compared to the cost to replace the entire HVAC system. The cabin air filter cleans the air before it circulates in the car. When the filter is dirty, air doesn't flow easily, which forces the HVAC to work harder. Eventually, your AC will quit on you, which would be a disaster if it happens during winter. Replacing the compressor alone will cost at least $1,500. The heater core can also cost about $1,000. If you don't feel like ruining your credit score, swap out the carbon filters every year or 15,000 miles max. You can also do this yourself in less than a minute. Just pop out the glove box and swap it out. Drivers with respiratory conditions should swap the filter more often. This will better protect you from pollen and pollutants trying to sneak into the car. Now, let's go to another part of the car that drivers only visit when there's an emergency. Secret number 12. Inspect the spare tire often. Did you know that only 10% of new cars come with a full-size spare tire? Roughly 50% of cars have a donut, and 40% have nothing. But do you know the worst time to find that out? When you have an emergency. Many people are driving around without a clue as to what is sitting in their trunk. Not only that, but they have no idea what condition it is. Even when a tire isn't being used, it can still lose pressure over time. You don't want to be on the side of the road in the middle of winter, only to discover that your spare tire is also flat. Also, ensure that your tools are complete and always carry a tire sealant kit. By the way, here's something else many drivers don't know. Donuts have a speed limit of roughly 50 miles per hour and a maximum distance of 50 to 70 miles. So when you buy a car, you might want to upgrade to a full-size spare instead. And while we're on the subject, here's something else you need to know about new cars. Secret number 11. The real purpose of the break-in period. Did you know that the lifespan of a car's engine is determined within the first few months of ownership? That's what car makers refer to as the break-in period. This period is crucial for 3 reasons. The first is for the piston rings to properly seat in the cylinder. Piston rings are intentionally made with imperfections. As you drive the car across varying RPMs, these imperfections are removed, and the rings form a perfect seal. If the rings don't seat properly, your car will always burn oil. The break-in period also ensures that the brake pads wear evenly. This will prevent warping and premature rotor or brake pad failure. The third benefit of this process is to give the different parts of the car time to adjust. Hard acceleration and rapid braking produce a lot of heat. If the car isn't ready, you'll wear out critical components quickly. So, even though it might be boring, always study the manual as soon as you buy a new car. That's where you'll come across the next secret too. Secret number 10. The myth of warm-up idling. It's been over 30 years since we stopped using cars with carburetors, yet this tired old myth persists. Modern cars only need about 10 seconds to get ready in summer and a maximum of 60 seconds in winter. The time you spend idling a cold engine is simply killing the car. Idling causes a lot of unburnt fuel, which sits on cylinder walls and eventually mixes with the oil. It also consumes a lot more fuel. According to the Department of Energy, an hour of idling uses about 0.2 and 0.5 gallons of gasoline. It also releases more emissions into the environment. If you want to warm your car up quickly during winter, start the engine and start driving after 30 seconds. Avoid high RPMs for the first 5 minutes, especially if it's turbocharged. And if you find it harder to start your car during winter, pay close attention to the next secret. Secret number 9. The importance of cleaning battery terminals. According to the AAA, the leading cause of roadside callouts is a dead battery. But how could the battery that got you from your home to your destination suddenly die? After all, isn't the battery meant to charge as you drive it? Yes, but only if the battery terminals are healthy. You might think your battery is fine because the car is starting, but corroded battery terminals are a silent killer. They can ruin not just the battery, but also your electrical systems. When corrosion forms on the terminals, it prevents the battery from charging and discharging properly. That puts more strain on your alternator, which can cause intermittent electrical issues. That is why you should clean the battery terminals as soon as you see green, blue, or white powder formations. Use baking soda and a wire brush to scrub it off, then rinse it with water. This process costs less than $5, but it can save you hundreds. Later in the video, I'll share a common scam that costs owners thousands, but can ruin a car in seconds. But first, here's a driving secret that will make you more confident in harsh weather. Secret number 8, the art of driving in the rain. Roughly 75% of weather-related crashes happen in the rain, which is over 570,000 crashes per year in the US. Cars tend to lose traction in the rain because of hydroplaning or aquaplaning. This is when the tire rides over water and doesn't make sufficient contact with the pavement. Hydroplaning tends to happen when there is at least 0.1 inches of water and you're driving at over 35 miles per hour. Now, here's the secret to driving in the rain. Drive in the tracks of the car in front of you. The water displacement by their tires will give you a slightly drier path and reduce the chances of hydroplaning. Avoid sudden acceleration or braking, even when you feel like you're losing traction. The last thing you want to do in bad weather is panic. That's how novice drivers get into trouble. Something else that gets them in trouble is ignoring the next critical aspect of regular maintenance. Secret number 7. Inspect the serpentine belt often. It's hard to believe that a $60 part is the linchpin of the entire engine. The serpentine belt drives the alternator, power steering pump, AC compressor, and sometimes the water pump. Yet, many people ignore this part completely until it starts squealing. However, once the serpentine belt snaps, your engine will shut down immediately. If this happens on the highway, you'll be facing the ICU or a lifetime of debt because your warranty won't cover it. And if your insurer can prove that you didn't replace the belt on time, they also won't cover the damage. Inspect your belts and tensioners every 30,000 miles and change them at 50,000 miles. It's a little cost that saves you a fortune, just like the next secret. Secret number 6, the truth about rust protection. One of the biggest scams dealerships try to sell clients is rust protection, but it's not for the reason you think. Rust is the one thing that can bring the price of your car down to zero, and unfortunately, there is no check engine light. That is why drivers need rust-proof coating on their undercarriage, especially if they live in the Salt Belt. And no, it's not just for old cars. While new cars apply a rust-proof coat on the body of the car, they don't apply it to the undercarriage. So, why shouldn't you buy it from a dealership? Because they are rip-offs. Dealerships charge an average of $1,000, but end up spraying a few cans of fluid film that cost less than $100. You can actually apply this yourself or go to a professional. It will still be much cheaper and be of a higher quality than whatever trash the dealer is doing. Secret number 5, the dangers of cheap aftermarket parts. In the past 5 years, the average price of car parts has gone up by a staggering 35%. The price of fuel and car insurance have also increased astronomically. That is why drivers need to save costs wherever they can. However, buying cheap aftermarket parts is not the answer. On the contrary, these products don't fit perfectly, so they could end up damaging other components. They also break down faster than OEM, thus costing you twice as much. The rule is simple: always buy OEM for critical components. Things like sensors, suspension parts, and fluids should always meet the carmaker's recommendations. However, you don't need to spend a fortune on aftermarket spark plugs, filters, or hoses. Even radiators don't need to be OEM. Consult your manual when buying new parts, and don't order them through your mechanic. The markup from auto shops can be as high as 40%, so get them online instead. We've got one more bombshell about car parts coming later, but first, it's time to bust another myth. Secret number 4, Never top up gas. Many people like to top off gas when the pump clicks. They think they're getting more fuel, and they are. However, they are also getting more problems. For starters, more fuel makes your car heavier, which reduces fuel economy. Secondly, you could end up spilling fuel, which can damage your car's paint. Considering that a new paint job costs up to $1,000, this isn't a mistake you want to make. Spilling fuel is also bad for the environment and for your evaporative emissions control system. The EVAP sits high in the fuel tank, and it prevents harmful fuel vapors from escaping the tank. But once fluid gets into it, you'll need a new one, which is about $500. If you don't identify the fault on time, you could fail an emissions test. Speaking of emissions tests, here's something you need to know before your next one. Secret number 3, the secret language of your exhaust smoke. Did you know that you can tell what's going on in a car by the color of the exhaust smoke? Maybe not everything, but a few important ones. For example, blue smoke means you're burning oil. It could indicate that you have worn piston rings, valve seals, or a failing turbocharger. Thick, persistent white smoke means you're burning coolant. If you don't get this checked on time, you'll end up with head gasket failure or a cracked block. That's at least $3,000 to fix. Black smoke means you're running rich, meaning there's too much fuel and not enough air. This could be caused by a clogged air filter, a faulty fuel injector, or a failing oxygen sensor. If you don't deal with this early, it will damage your catalytic converter and burn a $2,000 hole in your pocket. If you're really serious about saving money, the next 2 secrets hold the answers. Secret number 2, the underestimated importance of regular washing and waxing. Here's something most people never see coming. Cars that are washed regularly tend to sell for 20% higher. So if you're selling a car for $20,000, you could lose $4,000 simply because you didn't keep your car clean. But why is it so important? The first reason is that regular washing and waxing every 3 to 6 months protects the paint from discoloration. Wax blocks out UV rays that would otherwise damage the undercoat, and naturally, cars with faded or blotchy paint jobs sell for a discount. The second reason is that washing is a good way to get rid of corrosive elements like salt. Once rust gets into your car, you could lose between 20% and 100% of the value. So, the next time you see your vain neighbor cleaning their car, you should do the same. And don't forget to wash underneath your car during winter, even if you have anti-rust. And finally, it's time to reveal one mistake that can destroy a car in less time than it takes to order food from a drive-thru. Secret number 1. Performance upgrades are engine destroyers. Can you imagine having to spend $40,000 on a new engine simply because you got an ECU tune? That's what happened to the owner of a European sports car less than 3,000 miles after the upgrade. Performance upgrades are meant to bring out the best in your car. However, the short-term benefits in horsepower, torque, and fuel efficiency often come at the cost of a shorter engine life. The typical car engine should last at least 200,000 miles. If you maintain your car exceptionally well, it can go beyond 500,000 miles. However, if you get mods, your car might not last for another 100,000 miles. Cars that run as the manufacturer intended are more reliable, last longer, and perform just fine. If you must get upgrades, you should also upgrade your maintenance. Otherwise, you can kiss your expensive mods and your expensive car goodbye. You've just unlocked 21 secrets that keep your car safer, cheaper, and longer lasting. But there's one more game changer most drivers miss. In my next video, I'll reveal 17 simple habits that took my car to 700,000 miles. Click the video now before your car quits early.